So it's been about 7 days, or exactly 7 days, since my wife of 10 years left me. Uh, this is, I guess, this is my way of trying to heal. It's so crazy. How long YouTube has existed. My first video was about my GameCube, and now here I am, close to 20 years later, talking about my wife leaving me. um, well, I shouldn't have said my wife of 10 years. We've been together for 10 years. We've been married for 4 of those 10 years. And yeah, she left me. She didn't love me anymore. Um, and she actually told me that she'd start seeing other guys while we were still living together. And I didn't believe it at first because we'd always broken up on and off. That's normal in a relationship. You break up, you get back together. And we've been kind of in this deadly cycle, toxic cycle for the last 5 years where we break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And it was actually one of the main hesitations of why I didn't want to get married, because a lot of the issues that we had, we never really resolved. And I was thinking in my head is that why would we get married if we have all these different issues that we haven't resolved yet? Why in the world would we get married? We need to resolve these issues first before we get married. But at the same time, I'm madly in love with her, so my thinking was, well, I don't want to lose her, so it's better I marry her and then we can resolve our issues afterwards. What were our issues? Well, ever since the day that I met her, she'd always wanted to leave New York. New York is kind of a very transitional city, so everyone here is always looking for something better. People are always wanting to move to California. People are always wanting to move to Texas, to Florida. That's just kind of the nature of people here in New York City. It's a transitional city. And she was one of those people. She had come here from Ukraine, and she was currently studying. She was actually in John Jay. She was doing criminal justice, finishing up her master's. Or rather, she had 2 years left of her master's. And she was on her own. She was struggling. And I'm the kind of person that I'm attracted to people that are vulnerable, I guess you should say. And I think the reason why I'm attracted to people, and I realized this about myself, is during this process of her eventually leaving me. And I think the reason I'm attracted to people like that is because I'm insecure about myself. I feel as if I'm not good enough to keep someone unless they need me financially, unless they need me for stability. And so I think that's why I'm attracted to people like that, because I don't think I'm good enough for someone that can be on their own, that can be happy on their own. I feel like I have to fix people. I'm a fixer. I go in there and I fix people. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. That's actually my job. I'm a nurse in an operating room, and that's what I do. I fix things. And she was the perfect candidate. Beautiful, wonderful, amazing human being who was in that perfect state in her life where she was struggling, going to school, and she was also here as an immigrant. And I felt like it was just a perfect opportunity for me to sweep someone off their feet by showing them how much I could give them, what kind of life I could provide for them, the comfort I could give them with my ability to be stable in the relationship. And that's exactly what happened. The first 5 years we were together, everything was almost perfect. She was going to school. And during that time, as I said before, this is a transitional city. She was one of those people that had always wanted to leave Manhattan. She'd always wanted to leave somewhere and live in California, go live in Alaska, go live in Hawaii. Her ideal goal and dream was essentially to go from one city to another, find some kind of profession, some kind of job where she could jump from city to city and live there for 6 months, 8 months, and then move to another city later on. And that's what she wanted. And of course, me being here in New York, my family is here, my job is here. I am the kind of person where, again, I believe that my strength comes in my stability. My strength comes in my roots. I'm rooted here. And that is a source of strength for me. And so for someone to ask me to cut off those roots, it's like you're taking away my strength. I guess you could say it's, like Samson in the Bible, right? When Delilah cuts his hair, he's powerless. And I felt like if I ever moved out of here, that would be my strength. My strength would be completely gone. I'd be completely vulnerable. And so for the first 5 years, that was pretty much our biggest source of conflict, is where we were going to live and where we were currently living. And so, it was, our relationship, again, I swept her off her feet. We moved in together within the first 3 months of dating each other. And we were just completely into each other. And some people might think that's infatuation. It's not. Again, it's the first 5 years. How long can you be in infatuation mode? It was true, genuine love. And I think what happened eventually was that because her goal and dream contradicted with mine, which is to just have a normal, stable life of working and living in New York City, she decided that she would make the sacrifice to forgo her goals and dreams and stay here with me, because the other option was she would lose me. And me, myself, I was too stubborn to ever want to make the sacrifice to move out her, because again, I felt like this job, my job here is my source of stability. It's my source of strength. And so I wasn't going to give that up, because I felt like if she ever became independent, or if I allowed her to make me vulnerable, then what use does she have of me? And I guess it was my own insecurities that I was incapable of ever moving. And so I beat myself up for a long time. And during our argument, she would always use it against me. She would say, which is a fair point, I don't disagree with that point at all, is that if you truly love me, why would you not move out of Manhattan for me? If you can make all these proclamations, you can declare your love for me in words, but actions speak louder than words. That was always something that she would say to me: actions speak louder than words. And if you truly love me, you would act. And I don't want to say that I had excuses. I feel like I had reasons to stay here. Aside from just that, I felt like there's more roots. Aside from my insecurities, I have an amazing job here. And again, she chose to make that compromise, to make the sacrifice to stay here for me. And when she made that sacrifice, it wasn't like I stayed here and just took advantage of it. I never appreciated that sacrifice that she made. And so what I did during those preceding years, which was to my benefit also, was that literally I worked like a maniac when I was here. And in order to satisfy her craving to leave New York City, to satisfy that craving, I felt like, well, I can make her happy by just traveling a lot. I'll just work a lot and we'll travel a lot. And so because she was a student, it allowed us a lot of opportunities to basically travel all the time. And for the first 7 years that we were together, I'm not even joking, we went to over probably 50 different countries. I lost count. It's got to be over 50 at this point. I took her everywhere. We went to every continent. We climbed the highest peaks in the world. We went to see amazing places. We went to Antarctica together. We went to India together. Literally, all my traveling is with her. Every memory I have in those countries is with her, save for a few countries where I either went by myself or went with my brother. But for the most part, I would say like 90% of my travels during that time, and I had no regrets, because again, I benefited from it as well. I grew as a human being, and most importantly, I felt like I was accomplishing in satisfying that need for her to want to leave. And when this happened, because she was an immigrant here, she finished up her criminal justice master's at John Jay. However, because she wasn't an American citizen, a lot of the places that she did want to work at, she wanted to work at, the FBI was really her main goal, law enforcement. in order to work in law enforcement, you had to be an American citizen. And so there was a long waiting period before she could actually even apply for the jobs and career that she wanted. And during that time, I said to her, because I was a nurse, I have a lot of family members who are nurses because we're Filipinos. That's what Filipinos do. We're nurses here, especially in the East Coast. I said to her, look, I'm a nurse. You're a hyper intelligent human being. You're a hyper intelligent person. Why don't you go to nursing school? You go to nursing school and I will provide you everything. At that point, I'd already been providing everything for her. When we have a 2-bedroom apartment. And so when we had roommates, the money that our roommate was splitting the rent with us, I was essentially giving to her. And that was basically her pocket money. And she would have odd jobs here and there. She worked as a dental assistant. She worked as an actress, as an extra movie sets. Because again, it was very flexible because of her schedule at school. And when she finished school, those jobs kind of became her income in addition to the income that she was getting from our roommates that were living with us. And so literally I was paying everything, every penny that was happening, every travel that we ever did, every plane ticket, practically all of it was paid on my dime. And that's how much I loved her. It wasn't about the money. It was the fact that I'm trying to keep you happy. I'm trying to keep her happy to again, satisfy that craving of wanting to leave. And I really thought everything was fine. I thought everything was great. And we would still get into fights about living here. And it was really frustrating for me because here I am, I'm working so hard to keep her happy. I'm showing her the world, literally showing her the world, and I'm providing a shelter for us, a home for us, a place that we both can go home to and say, this is our home, this is our place where we are together, this is our family unit that we come home together, and we're here. And every time we would argue, I always felt like, a part of me was always like, why isn't that enough? Like, why is that not enough? And again, I understood that she sacrificed for me, and I appreciated that. I felt like I appreciated it so much. I never showed an unappreciation for the sacrifice that she made. And I always thought actions do speak louder than words. And yes, you made that sacrifice, and I'm showing you how much I appreciate that sacrifice. My acts of my thousands of hours working double overtimes and working 6 days, 7 days a week sometimes, just so we can travel for a week, for the month, to take you in extravagant trips, the best hotels, and to show you how much I love you. Like, it wasn't about the money. It was about the time that I gave to foster a relationship, to keep her. And truth be told, there is a part of me that regrets not making the move to go with her, to take a chance, because I felt like she took a chance on me. I should have taken a chance on her. But again, to my counterpoint, my counter argument I see for myself is that I sacrificed a lot too in order to keep her happy. It wasn't like I just stood here and said, okay, you made the sacrifice, we can go on with our lives now. I was still I knew that there was still part of her that had sadness for giving up her goals and dreams. And that's a huge thing to give up for someone. But at the same time, I felt like I'm showing you the world, and we have a home, and I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you a new life. And so what ended up happening was that when she graduated, when she got her master's in criminal justice, because she was unable to get a profession that she wanted within government, I told her, look, I'm a nurse. Nurses make great money here in Manhattan. While you're waiting for your citizenship to kick in, you can't apply for really anything that you want. Why don't you go to nursing school? Again, you're a super smart person, and there's here in New York City, there's a lot of schools which have fast track programs for people that have bachelors in other fields. You can fast track yourself to nursing programs here in Manhattan. And I knew that she was something she was capable of. And she had already worked for a few years at that point as a dental assistant as her side job. And so I knew that it would be a perfect transition for her, and it was something that she would really like, she would really enjoy. And so I convinced her to go to nursing school. And again, during this whole time, when we had roommates, all the money was basically going to pay for her school. The money that the roommate was giving me was going to her to go pay for her school. Whatever money that she made from her job, I never asked for a dime. I took care of everything. I paid for everything. and whatever free time that she had at school, I always tried to coordinate. I would beg my coworkers to give me their vacation time because we're a union hospital, that place that I work at. So the hospital would always give us vacations based on who has been there longer. And so my senior coworkers, I would just beg them to give me the time off to coordinate with her time off from school, or if she could get a day or two off from school, like we would take it. We would, again, literally for the first 7 years we were together, we traveled almost 1-2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks every single month or every other month. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely insane, the amount of traveling that we were doing. And all the money that I had, whatever money I saved by doing double overtime shifts, all the money I would make working on weekends, all of that went towards our travels, every penny of it, because I felt like that's what I need to do to keep her here, to make her happy, to not leave me. And yeah, that's what happened. And so eventually she graduated nursing school, and she graduated nursing school October 2019. October 2018. That was right before the pandemic. So at this point, we've been together for 7 years. And again, we would still have fights, but this time our fights had morphed into not just about staying here in New York and moving out of New York. There was now a new addition into our arguments, and that new addition into our arguments was a lack of intimacy. And so I don't know when it started. I'm guesstimating it started about 5 years ago, where she just shut down. She had a medical issue. It's called Bartholin cyst. Your Bartholin gland is a gland that essentially makes the vaginal fluids. So when a girl gets wet during, sexual interaction, your Bartholin gland is what releases that fluid. And so what happened to her, she developed cysts. And she'd always had cysts, like, on and off since we've been together. But, I guess, like, there was 1 year where she got it really bad. She had it like every 3 months. And yeah, our intimacy was obviously postponed. And it's strange because when I would get into arguments with her, it's so interesting how people's perspective of the past changes. And again, I'm not saying that my perspective is the right perspective. So her perspective of how that situation happened was that I was so unsupportive, and that all I cared about is when I was going to get laid next and how shocked I was. That was her perspective. But my recollection of that trauma that happened to her was that I was so supportive that I told her I remember telling her, like, you should go to the ER. This is crazy. I'll take you to the ER right now. We need to go. You need to get this thing drained. And she would be willing to say, no, I don't want to go. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to drain me. I'm just going to be there for 16 hours. And I would tell her, like, no, I've worked there. I know all the residents. Like, I can fast track you in. Like, that was my memory of her when she had those moments where she had the Bartholin cyst. But again, her recollection of it is complete opposite. And it's just so interesting how people's perspective on the past is completely different. And again, I don't know who's right or wrong because that's my perspective and that was her perspective. And yeah, our intimacy just started going downhill from there, and our arguments would escalate even more. Again, that intimacy part became the dominating source of conflict for the both of us. I feel like the move out of New York kind of became a secondary thing. The primary thing became a lack of intimacy. And she would always go back to the Bartholin cyst. It would always be like, well, I have a medical condition, and it's painful for me to have sex. And I always thought in the back of my mind, I don't need vaginal sex to climax. There's various ways to climax, which I was perfectly fine with. And I had these conversations with her, and what would end up happening was that, again, perspective, right? When we would have these arguments, my perspective was, well, why don't you want to try other things? We can try other things to be more intimate. And her perspective was, well, you just keep pressuring me. You keep pressuring me to do sexual acts, and I'm hurting, I'm in pain, and yet you keep pressuring me. And it's weird, right? So that was her perspective of what happened, because I feel as if that was the one thing about her too that I always never understood, because I always felt like I wish she didn't have a lot of friends, and I wish I became friends with a friend of hers that could get her side of the story, because I felt as if she was very emotionally immature. There was a lot of things that were going through her mind that literally I would have to talk to her or argue with her for an hour just to get her to say what she was feeling or what she was thinking. And I felt like if she only had a friend where I could, instead of arguing with her, that her friend, she could confide in her friend, or her friend could help her sort through her feelings without being an antagonist. Because I felt like when we argue, I was the antagonist, and she was the antagonist for me. So I always like, I wish so much that she had a close friend that she confided in, that I was friends with also, who trusted me, who could give me, I guess you could say, insider information about what she was actually truly thinking. Because I'm the sort of person that I feel as if I'm always so fair, always so cerebral, and I try to be as objective as possible, and I love her. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I possibly can to keep her happy, to keep her here, to be with me. And she didn't have a friend like that. And in fact, when I would try and discuss, I had my few close friends. I had maybe 2 or 3 friends, my closest buddies, who I would talk about this with. She would hate it when I would mention them. When I would say, hey, my friend, so-and-so thinks that this is what's happening. She would say, why are you talking to them about us? This is our relationship. There's nothing to do with them. And she would make me feel bad about it. But yet I always thought, like, this is normal though. This is why you have friends. This is why you have family, to give you a different perspective. Not just, because you love them and you care for them, but because they can give you a different perspective. They can be your support system when you need help, especially when you are a couple. When you're married, you are a unit. You're a family unit. And by extension, your family and your friends is your family also. And so if something is wrong, something is happening that is endangering your relationship, you would want to ask those people for help. You would want a third party perspective, somebody that can give you a different view of exactly what's happening. And so, we didn't have that. And for years, I would say the last 3 or 4 years, I kept pushing for therapy. I kept pushing for us to go to therapy because, again, I am in the medical field. And the shocking thing is, she went through nursing school. She's in the medical field also, and she would know that you need therapy. People need therapy, and there should be no shame in needing help mentally and psychologically if there's something going on that you don't know how to resolve. But yet she was not a believer in it. She just didn't believe it. She refused to go to therapy. And a part of me thinks that the reason she didn't want to go to therapy, because I think she didn't want to confront the truth. She would say to me, for example, because again, the lack of intimacy was something that was becoming a dominant force in causing conflict between us. And it got to a point where when she didn't have Bartholin cyst for like 2 or 3 years, when she didn't have it, but yet the lack of intimacy continued. And it was no longer valid to just say, well, I'm in pain and I have Bartholin cyst, because clearly she wasn't, because when I would try and initiate intimacy, I could see that she was getting wet, that it was working perfectly fine. And so when that excuse no longer became valid for her, then she went into this new reason, this new excuse, I guess you could say, for lack of intimacy. She literally told me she's asexual. That she said her orientation, one day she said to me, my sexual orientation is asexual. I looked it up. It's a real orientation. I have no interest in sex. I could go without sex for months. I don't care. I don't need it. And that's it. And I remember telling her, I don't think that's normal. I think this is something, if you're telling me that whether it's the Bartholin cyst that made you like this, or if you've been like this your whole life, and you're just realizing it now, even though you didn't realize it for the first 4 or 5 years that we're in a relationship, fine. But this is not normal. You need help. We need to go see a therapist. And then she would counter that with, I told you I don't believe in therapy. All they do is talk about your childhood, blame everything on your childhood. And she would say to me, what if the reason I'm asexual right now is because I was raped? What if the reason I'm asexual right now is because I was molested when I was a child? I don't want to find that out. I don't need to find that out. And I always think in the back of my head, but this is damaging our relationship. Maybe this is something you should find out. Maybe this is something you should fix, because this is affecting us. This is affecting our love, our relationship. You should have a vested interest in figuring this out. And every single time we would break up, every single time that we would have an argument, I would beat myself up. I would go back to the drawing board, and I would say to myself, what did I do wrong? What did I do to make her not love me? What did I do to push her away? And during this time, when I wouldn't even seek help from my friends, because she would get upset if I sought help from my friends. And so I would do my best to keep it within myself, just to not get her upset. And I don't know what happened. I think what happened at some point, this is my belief, and my belief is that at some point, the fact that I didn't want to move for her turned into resentment and anger. The compromise that she made for me, she realized that the compromise that I made was a mistake. I'm not happy. And so I think that's when she fell out of love. And she had a huge social media following because of the pandemic. So during the pandemic, she had posted a video of people clapping at her hospital to praise healthcare workers that had been working throughout the pandemic. And it went viral. And she went from, I think it was something like, she already had a huge following to begin with. She had something like 15,000, 20,000 followers. She went from like 15, 20,000 followers to ballooned. I think the highest it got to was like 125,000 or 130,000. I don't remember, but she blew up during the pandemic. And so during that time, you know, a lot of her social media was literally just for her like thousands of followers, which is again a lot, but it was mostly for us as a record keeping of where we'd been, the places that I had taken her to, the travels that we had done. But then it morphed into this giant, humongous thing where it's like now everybody saw us together. And I became that Instagram husband. I became that guy that would take photos of her, videos of her. And it would always turn into this thing where I felt like we had a lot of issues, again, because of our lack of intimacy. We had a lot of issues because of where she wanted to be, where she wanted to live. Our goals and dreams were not aligning. And because people saw us online, I felt like there was a lot of social pressure on her to maintain this image that we're like this perfect couple that loved each other unconditionally and we would do anything for each other. We would, you know, that I loved her so much. There was no problems. We were perfect. And it was a complete detachment from reality. And the reality of it was we had no intimacy in our relationship, at least on her part, because I was always intimate and it would always hurt me so much that every time I would come home, it's like I always wanted her. I wanted her. Like, not just want her in a lovey-dovey way, like want her physically because of how attracted I was for her. And I always thought, like, it hurt me so much because I was like not reciprocated. And I knew it wasn't reciprocated. I couldn't understand why it wasn't being reciprocated anymore. And I would beat myself up. I would think, maybe you're too perverted. Maybe you're too hypersexual. You want her too much and you're too pushy. And I would like beat myself up. And I would be like, she's asexual and she needs therapy and she needs help. So you should be more careful of how you approach her. You should be, you know, and she would say things like to me, like, well, you know, maybe I'm not asexual when we're on vacation. And so, you know, I was like, oh, you know, I'll keep traveling more. I'll keep traveling. And so that actually was what pushed me to keep to extend it more years of traveling. The reason we stopped traveling was because of the pandemic. But at that point, we had still continued and kept traveling prior to the pandemic happening. Just again, and a lot of that motivation was not just because I wanted to see the world. I'd already seen enough of the world at that point. Like literally everything I wanted to see as a kid, I had seen already. Every Discovery Channel special that I saw when I was a kid, where I was like, oh, I'm gonna go there someday. Like we did it. We saw it. And it was just more at that point, it was just more just a continuation of like, well, I gotta keep traveling. I gotta keep working to pay for these travels to impress her and it'll keep her Instagram happy because her Instagram followers will see all these cool places that she's going to, and she'll be satisfied because like, oh, look at her amazing husband, and that image that she projected onto the world in regards to our relationship would make her happy. That dopamine hit every single time, every thousands of likes that she would get on her photos and videos, and you know, I felt like I can keep her happy. I can keep her happy because I love her so much. And again, the intimacy became the dominant topic that we would always argue over, and it was mostly initiated by me most of the time because I beat myself up and I didn't understand why there was a lack of intimacy, and I believed her when she said it was because it's painful for her and it's a Bartholin cyst and it's because she's asexual orientation and that's just how she is. I believed her because I love her. What reason would I have to not believe her? We've been together at this point for 7 years, 8 years. There's no reason to not believe her. And yeah. And at some point, I think she fell out of love, and at some point, the traveling that we had done and everything that I had done, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't enough because her goals and dreams was to travel. Her goals and dreams was to live in different cities all the time and vlog about it and show people like, hey, I'm in this city and look at my thousands of followers. Look at us. Look at us. Like and it wasn't like she wanted to do it by herself. She wanted to do it with me. And at the back of my head, I always felt like I'm rooted here. You knew that this was my roots. And again, a part of me regrets so much. A part of me thinks, you know what? She sacrificed for a few years. And she realized I can't be happy living this lifestyle. A part of me thinks, you know what? Maybe I should have taken the chance. I should have taken the risk and said, you know what? I'll move. I'll move for you too. And I'll see if I'll give us a shot. I'll give us another chance. I'll give us another shot. And I do regret that I didn't do that. And hindsight is always 20/20. I think of these things now, but at the time I wasn't thinking about these things. And it's too late now. It can't be undone, right? I can't take that chance now. It's gone because she left. She's gone. And so she graduated nursing school. And after she graduated nursing school, a part of me was kind of worried because, again, this is my own insecurities, and I don't know if it played a part in her resenting me even more and being angry at me. I got scared that she doesn't need me anymore. She can provide for herself. If she was unhappy and wanted to leave and become a travel nurse, and that was one of the things that was one of the allures with nursing, and that's part of the reason actually. It wasn't just because I was pushing her to do nursing while she was waiting for her citizenship. The allure of it was she could do travel nursing. And while she was in nursing school, that was always something that she would nudge me and push me to doing. Like, hey, when I graduate, we could do it. We could remember that my goal and dream that I said I would compromise, but we're both nurses now. We could do it. And my answer will always be the same. Like, no, I like my job here. Like, look at the amount of vacations that we went on. Look at the vacations I was able to pay for because of this amazing job where I get weeks at a time off the year where we can go away for like 5 weeks or 1 or 2 weeks every month for a whole year. Like, I was trying to show her all the pros and cons of having that stability because stability is important to me and my family is important to me. And my mom is here. And my brothers at that time my brothers to now are still here. My 2 sisters eventually did move away. One of my sisters is in North Carolina, my other sister is in Georgia, but this has always been our whole base. When we have the holidays, we go back to my mom's in Jersey. The whole family, my 2 sisters. This is this is our roots. This is our home. Ever since we migrated from the Philippines, New York City and New Jersey has been where we were stationed. This is like, when you ask me, where are you from? I don't say the Philippines anymore, even though that's where I was born and that's where I grew up for the first few years of my life. And I have fond memories of living there. But if you ask me where I'm from, I tell people, I say, no, New York City. I'm from New York. I'm from the US. I live in New York. And even here in the US, when people ask me, where are you from? I don't even automatically think the Philippines. Unless a person asks me, what's your ethnicity or what's your background? I think, where are you from? Oh, I'm from New York. Oh, I'm from the East Coast. I live in New York. And so this is became such an integral part of my personality. And it's extremely difficult for me to even conceive of the idea of leaving. But again, because hindsight is 20/20, I thought in my head, maybe I should have left. Maybe I should have left. Maybe I should have taken that chance on us, on her. And done that. But it's too late now. That opportunity is gone. And some of my friends have told me that maybe you could have made that move. Let's say I made that move. What if you became the unhappy person? What if you became the person that fell out of love? And yeah, that's possible. But what I would say is anything is possible. What if we stayed in love? What if that move would have salvaged the marriage, right? And so anything could happen. And I know myself. I know myself deep down inside. I know myself. I think if I had this hindsight, I would have moved. And this is an argument. In our arguments, I even told her, I said to her, if you pushed my hand, I love you enough. If you told me, I will move without you, if this is what if you will not move without me, I would have, I know myself, I would have said, I can't lose you, I'm going to move with you. But unfortunately, what happened was that because of this resentment and anger that she had towards me, where I would focus our arguments on lack of intimacy, whereas I believe in her mind, it was more, you don't love me because you won't move for me. You won't take the action. You speak all these words, but you won't take the action. And again, for my part, it was that frustration of, I'm giving you everything that I possibly can besides that one thing. It's not like, again, it's not like I'm standing here doing absolutely nothing. I put you through nursing school. We saw the world together. We saw everything together. Every penny that I ever made was towards your happiness, towards our love, towards our union, to keep us together, to keep her satisfied, to keep her happy. And again, every breakup, every single time that we had conflict, I would beat myself up. I would go into the corner and I would think in my head, what did I do wrong? How can I become a better person for her? And that's when I realized, when it came to heads finally, because again, breaking up on and off, you think, that initial phase, you think like, oh, this is it, this is the end. But then eventually you get back together, you reconcile. And I always knew that the real issues that we had, the core issues that we had that was causing this toxic loop of coming, I call it a loop of going back together, of breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, going back together. And you have this high where you have this low where you hate each other and you don't understand why this person won't do this for you. And then eventually you cuddle, you make up, you kiss, and then you get back into this high of like, I can't imagine my life without this person. And you have this high, this amazing high for like a week or two. And eventually it comes right back down. It slowly just degrades right back down. And it's like a roller coaster. It was like a roller coaster, and it is very toxic. It wasn't healthy. And so the most recent breakup that we had, I sensed it. I sensed that loop happening. And I thought in my head, I've been here hundreds of times before. I know this feeling, and we have to confront the issues. At some point, we have to stop the loop. The loop has to end. And we have to confront the real issues that we had. My intention at that time was, I was thinking in my head, if we truly lost each other, if we truly showed how valuable we were to each other by truly breaking up, because at that point I felt like she'd gone away for like a week without me, and I'd gone away for like a weekend without her. Like things always happened where we kind of just separated and did our own thing. But we always got back together, and I thought this time it has to be different. It has to be real, that we could truly lose each other if we don't confront our issues and we don't fix these issues right now. We could truly lose each other. And so I thought in my head, we need a real breakup. We need a real breakup where we can confront the issues together. We can say, we're broken up because of these issues, and we're gonna fucking fix these issues. We're gonna go head on, we're gonna smash these issues, and we're gonna come back together. We're gonna come back together, we're gonna fucking beat the shit out of these problems that we've had, we're gonna knock it out of the park, and we're gonna come out happier, we're gonna come out stronger, and our love is gonna be stronger, and I'm gonna come home, and you're gonna love me as much as I love you, and we're gonna be fine, and I'm gonna die in your arms, and we're gonna grow old together, and maybe we'll change our minds, and we'll have kids, and everything's gonna be fine. And I'm thinking all these things in my head, how great our life is gonna be if we truly fixed our problems. I wanted us to confront our problems, to fix our problems, because I felt like we were both strong enough that this toxic loop that we had needed to end. It needed to end because I could not go on forever without intimacy. I could not go on forever wondering if my wife was truly happy. I could not go on forever knowing that she was constantly depressed and sad and not knowing why. Well, kind of knowing why, but at the same time, we have to confront that why and realize what that why is and try to fix it. Try to see where we can come together. And again, in the back of my mind, I always knew if she dropped everything and said, I need to leave you because my goals and dreams are more important than our love, it supersedes our love, I would have said, well, my love supersedes my roots. And I would uproot myself. I would chop myself down and make myself so fucking vulnerable.
I knew that, and I told her that. I said to her, if that is what you want, I will take that chance. I will take that risk. And near the end, I did tell her that. I told her I would have done anything I would do anything for you right now. And the problem was, I'd already lost her. And I think at that point, it'd probably been already several years. Probably. Because again, she was very emotionally immature. I'm not saying that to be condescending because she truly was. If you asked her, she would tell you that up front, that she's emotionally immature. She needs time. Or sometimes she needs time not just to process her emotions, but a lot of times, even given time, she still can't process her emotions. And yeah. And yeah, I lost her because it'd been years since she really truly loved me. And in the back of my head, and a lot of my few friends who I did confide our issues with, they all told me the same thing. Every single one of them. They all said she doesn't love you anymore. She doesn't love you anymore. Like they all knew it, and I kind of knew it in the back of my mind. And I would confront her sometimes, like, you don't love me anymore. Just say it. And again, because of her social media, because she has so much pressure on social media to have this front that like we were the perfect couple, I feel like she didn't want to be the bad guy. She didn't want to be the person that had to face her 120, 130,000 followers and say, actually guys, I don't love him anymore. He doesn't have the same goals and dreams as me. She didn't want to be the person that left. And I think that pushed her to not confront the truth, which is that she didn't love me anymore. That pushed her even more to make these excuses, to say, well, I'm asexual. Well, I have a medical condition, so that's why our intimacy went downhill. And I don't know how much of it was conscious. During one of our arguments, she did say to me, I'm shocked you haven't cheated on me by now. And in the back of my mind, I realized you must have been somewhat conscious of what you were doing if you're saying that. And it's been really hard. It's been really hard because 10 years is a long time. And this place I have now, I mean, we moved here together. And everything now that she's gone, because of the way it happened, because my expectations were completely different from what the reality of the situation was. The things that happened, the things that transpired was nothing what I expected. And what ended up happening was that she said to me, if this is how it's going to be, if we're truly going to break up, well, I'm going to start seeing other people. And in the back of my mind, I thought, we live together. I was confident still. In the back of my mind, I thought, she's a nurse now. She can be on her own. She could be on her own. At this point, I'm still paying, mind you, I'm still paying for everything. What ended up happening actually was that as soon as she started got a job as a nurse, where she was making the same income as I was, what ended up happening was that her sister from Ukraine wanted to migrate here to the US. And so I supported her sister migrating here to the US. And, I was like, look, don't worry about it. I'll continue to take care of the bills and everything else like that. It's no problem. A few months after her sister moved out, or a few months after her sister migrated, or a year after her sister migrated, boom, the war in Ukraine happened. Russia, February 24th, right? 2022, Russia attacks Ukraine. And her parents lived in Melitopol, which had already bordered, which is near Crimea. Russia had taken over Crimea, I think in 2014. And so they were like one of the first cities that were hit. And within, her parents escaped her parents came here in April. So the war started February 24th. We got them out of there. They were able to actually drive through Georgia and escape through Georgia. And from there, take a flight to New York City. They had already had a tourist visa. And so they were able to enter the US. And at that point, we got her sister on her feet. So her sister could be on her own. But once her sister was financially on her own, we didn't have to support her anymore. Boom, it's like, well, her two parents are here. And so I continued to finally financially support her. I told her, like, listen, your parents are here. You're escaping a war. This is a terrible situation. Don't worry about it. I will take care of everything. Because again, this is, and a lot of it is my pride, because she would offer to help. It wasn't like she just stood there and like, okay, sure. Like, she would say, no, like, I'm working now too. I can provide for them too. And so what happened was that our parents lived here for, I think it was like 2 weeks. It was, we had no roommate at that point anymore. Because her sister had become a roommate for the few months that she stayed here while she got her, picked her feet up. And so, we had no roommate because we didn't really need one. We weren't starving for money since both of us were nurses now, even though I still took care of everything. But her parents being here, it was just that I loved her parents being here. Her parents are amazing fucking people. I love them to death, but it was more her. She couldn't stand living with them. So she was like, we need to get them an apartment right away. So I ended up getting them an apartment in Brighton Beach, where, a lot of this huge Ukrainian Russian community and they're Ukrainian Russian speakers. And so it was a perfect community for them to get integrated into. And we got an apartment for them. The apartment was kind of completely shoddy, to be perfectly honest. And we spent like an entire week. Well, actually it was close to a week, like preparing this apartment before we moved to her parents there. Like, we swept the entire place. We fixed everything up. Like, I bought new toilet seats because the management wasn't willing to fix certain things. Like, we cleaned that place up top to bottom. We made it as brand new of an apartment as we possibly could. Like, renovated on our own, in addition to the repainting and rebuilding that the landlord owners had done. And so, I said to her, look, your parents are here. You're paying for their rent in Brighton Beach. So don't worry about paying the rent here in our apartment. Like, I'll continue to pay it. I've been paying the rent here for as long as we've been here. All by myself. Like, I can continue to pay it right now. It's no big deal. It's no problem. And so essentially we got her sister here to start a new life in America. She became a nurse because of me, and got to see the world at the same time while she was going to school, and didn't have to pay for anything, didn't have to pay for that. And again, it's not about the money. It's more of just, again, the amount of sacrifices that I made. It wasn't like she made her sacrifice, right? But it wasn't like I was sitting here just doing nothing. And so, her parents got here April, and we got them their apartment May. And and she was paying their rent, and I continued to basically just pay the rent here. And it came to a point again where I was realizing, look, everything else is set. You have a full-time job. We have, your parents are here. They've escaped the war. They're gonna be fine. Your sister is on her own. She's doing her own thing. She don't need us anymore. And so I felt like we have these looming issues in our relationship. It's like a distraction. Her family being here, the war happening, it was like a huge distraction for us to get us, to come together and like have this common thing that we need to do. Like, we need to help them escape. And this war, and her social media, she actually lost a ton of followers on her social media, because her social media was a mix of Ukrainians and Russians. I think she lost something like 25,000 subscribers in a single day. And that really took a toll on her, the war, because social media, again, was a huge thing for her. It was something that she got adoration and admiration from. And even though she'll never admit it, it was a big factor for her. And it was a big factor, again, unfortunately for her, in pressuring her to maintain this perfect image of who we were and what we were towards these people who are essentially her adoring fans. I shouldn't put that in quotes, because her fans like loved her until the war started. And I think that hit her hard, that, oh my God, look at these thousands of people that hate me because I support my country, because I support my people not being killed, not being invaded. And so it was hard for her. She stopped posting completely on social media. Because before, again, she went viral during the pandemic, so she was focusing so much on her job, and it was so cool for her. It was so fun for her to post to people, and people just constantly sending her likes. She would actually get sponsorships. I don't know how much money she actually made, but she was making bank, because again, I'm supporting her still this entire time. I have a lot of pride too, and again, that's my fault. It wasn't like she stood there and was like, I don't want to, oh sure, you can pay for that, pay for this. She would always say, let me pay for this, let me pay for that. But I have a lot of pride too, and it's my own ego. I'm the man. I need to pay for everything. I need to provide for you. Even though you have a job now, I got you this far. Like, I know I'm the man. I pay for everything. And again, that was my own ego. I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, during this whole situation, she lost a lot of subscribers during that time. And so her social media just kind of went dead silent. The only thing she would post about, she would make posts, anti-Russian posts, anti-war posts, anti-Putin posts, and that was pretty much what her Instagram got delegated into. And I think that took a toll on her also. That created another source of unhappiness for her and for us, because that was an outlet for her. Her social media was an outlet for her. I remember one time, when we would have fights about being here in New York, like she would say to me, when we would get back together, she would say to me, oh, look at this story that I posted of just me walking through Central Park. Oh my God, I love New York City so much. I appreciate New York City so much. I'm so sorry that I'm always pressuring you to move out of here. Look at the thousands of likes that I got by posting a random story on Central Park. And it was like something that, an outlet for her. And when that got taken away, I think that built up, in addition to the resentment and anger that she was already feeling, and the fact that she would no longer, that turned into a lack of love for me, a lack of intimacy. That just added to it. That just exacerbated the entire situation. And so again, I wanted a real breakup because I felt like we have these looming issues. We have this toxic loop that just keeps going back and forth, circling over and over. Like, I want to end it. I want to stop it. We need to end the loop so we can fucking kill this thing. We can kill it. We can work together because we love each other, and we're going to come back together stronger than ever, and that's what it's going to be. And that's not how it turned out. How it turned out was that, she told me she would start seeing other people, even though we're still living together. And so we broke up, and literally the day after we broke up, I noticed that she came home late at night, and her high heels were in the shoe rack. She came home like 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what it was. And the next morning I saw in the shoe rack, like, oh, high heels are here. And, I'm thinking in my head, I'm in denial. She's upset, of course, because we're broken up. Because I got out of the loop. Again, we had gotten back together. We had broken up, gotten back together. I noticed that we're in the loop. Like, I have to end the loop. I have to end it. And so, she and I thought nothing of it. I thought she's just hanging out with her friends. She's upset. She had a really close friend who lives in Jersey. And I thought maybe her friend came in an emergency meeting with her, came to the city, or she went to her, I don't know. And they had an emergency meeting to talk about the situation, talk about how to move forward, what we're going to do. Maybe she thought about the things that I had told her, what I had said, that like, hey, we need to end our loop. We need to stop this toxic cycle. We need to confront our real issues together and try to fix it. So I thought, I'm thinking, that's what she's thinking about. That's what she's thinking about. Then the next day comes, and it's the same thing. Just out late. Next day, I wake up, high heels, and we have a two bedroom. So at this point, as soon as she gets home, she gets home from work earlier than me because I work later than her. So she would go straight to her room, lock herself up. I wouldn't see her. I'd go to my room, and a part of me was thinking no, you should knock and talk to her, see what's happening, see what's going on. But at the same time, I'm thinking in my head no, this needs to be a real breakup. This needs to be. She needs to sit down about what I said about confronting our real issues, confronting the real problems that we had, and trying to figure out a way. How can we resolve this? Because I took us out of the loop. Now that we're both back to baseline where we're supposed to be, where we're seeing this problem in front of us, that we're not just covering our eyes like, oh, we love each other. Cover our eyes. There's no problems. I want us to unmask it. I felt like there was this giant curtain that we would just throw over our problems, this black curtain, every single time that we would go back to that makeup phase. And I felt like I rolled it up, boom, we still have a fucking problem. We better fix it. And that's what I was thinking. And, eventually I stopped being in denial. And I realized her friend, Vita, is not coming here every fucking day for 4 or 5 straight days talking to her about this thing. And so I confront her about it. And I remember I texted her because we hadn't spoken. Again, she wasn't speaking to me. And I told her, hey, I need to talk to you. And she said to me, what do we need to talk about? We've talked about everything already. And I was like, what? Talked about everything? And I said to her, no, we haven't talked about everything. And then I said to her, And she said to me, well, why can't you, or something to the effect of, why can't you just tell me, what do you need to tell me now? And I said to her, this is an in-person conversation. Because I wanted to ask her straight up, like, are you seeing other people? Like, you're living here and you're seeing other people? Like, within a day after we just broke up, like, really? And, yeah, I confronted her about it. And I remember going into her room, our room, our room. Because she slept in our room and I took the other bedroom. And I remember coming in and asking her, and telling her, listen, I'm not stupid. For the past several days, your high heels have been in the shoe rack every single time I wake up. You're coming home late at night. You're seeing other people. And she said, "10 years together, and 10 years together, and I kind of do understand why she was able to say it in the most cold manner possible. She said to me, I'm doing exactly what I told you I would do." And that one hit hard. It hit hard. It hit real hard. It hit me real hard. And I didn't know how to respond to that except to cry. And I fucking hate crying. I know that sounds unbelievable right now, but for the first 38 years of my life, I have cried more in the last week than I've ever cried. The most I cried prior to this was my father passed away 15, 16 years ago. And but this, I've never cried this much. Like I remember when she told me, I can't even remember. I know I've cried. I don't know if I got on my knees and started sobbing. I can't even remember. I think at some point I remember shaking. I remember shaking uncontrollably. I've never felt that way before. I was shaking. I was shaking. Like my hands were trembling. I didn't even understand how or why. I couldn't explain it. I remember shaking. I think I sobbed on the floor for a little bit. I think I ran to the bathroom and I don't know if I felt like throwing up. I felt like throwing up, I think. And I went to the shower to try and throw up, I think, because I was still shaking. And I just remember just sobbing uncontrollably, crying uncontrollably, like so many tears. And I was shaking. I couldn't understand. I couldn't control myself. Like this was the first time in my life where I couldn't control what was happening to me. Like I was looking at my hands, it was trembling, and it just came out of nowhere, and I couldn't understand what was happening to me. And yeah. And so the next few days, I was afraid to go to work because I would just randomly cry. Like randomly cry. And actually, so I got myself back together and I spoke to her. Like, I don't remember when I spoke to her. Again, my memory is so messed up from that day just because of how like painful it was. Like I don't think it's because this is so fresh. I feel as if I haven't really processed what's happening at that point. And so I came to her. I came back to her and I said to her, if you're seeing other people already, we're still living together. Whatever care you have left in me, I remember telling her, whatever care or decency you have left, give me some dignity. At least move out of here. Because you're coming back home. The lack of intimacy for the last 5 years, you're giving it to other men, to random strangers, instead of giving it to me, the person who has taken care of you, who has given you your life. Instead of giving it to me, you've been giving it to strangers these last few days. And I told her, just at least leave me some dignity. That you don't come home with the stench of other men. That you don't come home with me now realizing, facing the truth that you're giving yourself to strangers. Things that should be for me, it should be given to me because I gave it to you. Things that you never reciprocated, you hadn't reciprocated for me in years. Like, I begged her. I said to her, just, could you at least do me the decency, if you still care about me, that you should move out probably, if you're gonna start seeing other people. And she just was looking at me, dead faced, and I'm breaking down. I'm crying like crazy. Never cried in front of anybody in my life for a long time. Not in my life, but for a long time, since my dad's passing, and here I am, pouring my heart out. And again, my expectations never comport with reality, because what I wanted to hear was, I'm so sorry, I'm doing this out of anger for you. I'm so sorry, I love you, I didn't do anything with them. It was everything, I've done nothing with them, it's harmless. I'm so sorry, we'll try to fix this. That was the answer I wanted so bad. So bad. And I thought maybe if I said something different, maybe it would have convinced her to say that answer. Maybe she would have given that answer. If I had done something different, if I had said something different, maybe that was the answer she would have given me. And instead of the answer, cold face, she just said to me, I'll move out tomorrow. 10 years together. I'll move out tomorrow. Not even, and I'm sorry I hurt you. And I'll move out tomorrow. I'll move out tomorrow. And she didn't move out the next day, and it took her another day to move out. And yeah, it was weird. It was weird. The whole thing was like, a part of me, I guess, is still in denial. It's as if it never happened. And I catch myself. This is fresh. All this is fresh. This was literally a few days ago. This is week 1. Like, it's officially week 1 since she moved out. And I remember she was when I this week, like when I'm going to work, walking to work, or when I wake up, get dressed, get changed, whole apartment's empty, and you're so used to 10 years, you're used to, somebody there, somebody, the person you love being next to you, or the person you love, you come home, the person you love is there, they're home. I walk to work, I would close the door. When I get out of my apartment, close the door, and I'll think I would close my eyes, and this still happened. It's still happening to me, literally today, this morning. So stupid. I bought her parents a Christmas tree. It's their first Christmas from Ukraine. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Even though we're broken up, I love her parents. They love me, and this is their first Christmas. I want to do something nice. I don't want their memory of me to be this, to be a broken person. I want their memory of me to be this strong individual who made sure that their Christmas was happy, that their first Christmas in America was going to be great. So I got them a Christmas tree, and I was carrying the Christmas tree. And again, this happened to me several times this week. I'm carrying a Christmas tree. We're carrying. I was it was really heavy. I had to go in my car. I park here in the streets of Manhattan. We're carrying it. I remember every time I close my eyes, I think you'll wake up and it's a nightmare. It's just a bad dream. It's just a bad dream. And she'll be next to you, and you wake up and it'll be 2021, December. And you'll be like, oh my God, babe, I just had the worst dream. We broke up and it's fucking crazy, and you left me and you're dating other dudes, and oh my God, it was so crazy, and you left me. And I remember Like even now, it's like I'm looking at this video. I'm like, I'll wake up from this fucking bad dream. I'll shut the video off. I'll wake up. I'll be like, she'll be next to me. I'll be like, it's a bad dream. It's a bad dream. Oh my god, you're still here. I love you so much. It's just a bad dream. Because I remember she would wake up sometimes. She would just like hug me. You'd be like, oh god. I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I wake up. Be like, what's wrong? What's the matter? And she would tell me, oh my god, I had just the worst dream that we broke up. And you left me for good. Like what? I know. I love you. I love her so much, and I think I knew that she didn't love me anymore. I knew it. Because you don't just stop being intimate with someone for no reason and make these excuses. I knew it, but I felt like, no, I'm gonna love her more than any human being could ever love another human being. And it'll be enough. It'll be enough for the both of us. It'll be enough. Like, my love will be enough because I'm a fighter. Like, I fight. I literally am a fighter. I fight all the time. That's all I know how to do is fight and fix things. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. That's why people like me, because I fight and I fix things. Whatever you need fixed, I fix it. I get the job done. And that's what I'll do. I'll love her so much that there's no way. I will love us enough for the both of us. And it wasn't. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for the both of us. And it wasn't enough for the both of us. It wasn't. So, yeah. She left me. That was Saturday. She officially left. She wouldn't tell me where she was going, what the plan was. And what happened was that, she was supposed to leave on a Friday. She couldn't get her stuff together on time, and so she ended up leaving. Before I left Saturday morning, I didn't want to be there in the apartment watching her pack because I was thinking in my head, I was crying. I cried like crazy in front of her, begging her, to make things work the day before. Telling her like, how could you do this to me? How could you hurt me? And I didn't want to be there to beg her to keep trying to make it work. And I felt that point, my feelings, my emotions at that point were like as if I was a nuisance to her. That because of how cold she had answered me, I'll move out. Because of that cold answer, I felt like I'm garbage. Like I'm in her way. I'm in her way of finding happiness. So I told her, I said to her before I left, I had already made a plan to hang out with my friends, who had known the situation. I had told them like, yeah, she told me she's moving out, and that she can. So I made plans like I'm gonna hang out with them, and I told her, I said to her before I left, I said, listen, so her mom is a very creative person, super creative person, amazing human being, wonderful person. So what she did over the years in our 10 years together, from all our travels, she would like. So cool. She made a clock. She printed a canvas of us, of one of our photos in Brazil, in Fort Iguazu, and she like made it into a clock. And a lot of pictures, the climbs that we've done, hikes that we've done, like in Costa Rica and in Peru and things like that. Her mom printed it. She made 2 coffee mugs that like she printed our photos. It said Ksenia and Ian, our names on it, and like these 2 coffee mugs. And I had like. One year, there's a thing called Love Book online. You guys should check it out. Thing's so awesome, so cool. So Love Book online they create a storybook for you depending on the occasion. And so if you love someone, your spouse, you create a book, and the book is called The Story of Us, and you kind of create it on your own. There's already pre-made drawings, but you you can customize it on your own. And so we had this book. It was like a 58-page book that I made for her 2 Christmases ago during the pandemic. Actually, it was called The Story of Us. It was talking about like how we met, and it was so cute. It was so cool, and it was just this little things all over the apartment. Yet I'd actually started. I had collected it that Friday when she told me I'm moving out. I'd like started collecting it together to kind of. And the reason I collected it together was like to show her look, you're throwing all of this away. Look at all the love that we've had for each other these last 10 years. Like you're throwing, like it was for me to kind of say that. And also partially because, and exactly what I told her in the morning, I said to her, look, if you're going to leave, this is too painful for me to keep here in this apartment. And I don't have the heart to ever throw any of this out. And because she was so cold, I thought in my head, you know what? I'm broken, right? Like I'm completely devastated. I'm torn. I've never cried before like this. I'm shaking. I'm mentally unstable at this point. I thought, you can suffer a little. If there's something you can do for me, take this with you. And I told her, I said to her, I don't know what you're going to do with it. If you want to throw it away, throw it away. But please, don't keep it here with me. Don't put this on me. Don't put this on me. And at first she was arguing me. She said, no, stop being silly. You throw it out. That's what she said to me. You throw it out. And I begged her. I said to her, please, I begged you to stay already. You're refusing to do that. I've done everything that I possibly can to try and get you to stay. If you're going to leave, just please take these with you. And then finally she said, fine, I'll take it with me. I'll throw it out. So anyway, I hung out with my friends. I was a mess the whole day. My friends are awesome though. They, everybody's been always so supportive. All my friends have been so supportive about the situation. But you know what it is with friends? As much as they want to help, as much as they love you and support you, there's nothing they can do. There's not much they can do except be there for you. And again, I love all my friends, but the pain that I'm experiencing, and I have. So where was I? Oh God, I don't even know how long I've been talking at this point. Battery died, which means I've probably been talking for, oh boy, a long time. But, yeah, it's weird. The situation is weird. It's strange. Hurts a lot. I so yeah, my friends were amazing people, and it's just the pain that you feel is there's nothing anyone can say or do to make you feel better. And the sad part about this whole situation is, people fall in and out of love. These things are normal. Life happens. It does happen, but it's the way things ended. Like because again, my expectations are so different from what actually transpired. And the way that it ended in this manner is just something like out of a movie. So what ended up happening was that I was getting off work, and we had this, our coworkers had this work thing. I've already been like just crying nonstop, randomly crying at work, trying to hide my tears at work. I was getting off work, and our job had a vigil for nurses that had passed away during the COVID pandemic. So people were outside holding, candles. And so when I walk to work, I live near my job, and so I don't really have to walk far. So I kind of just wear pajamas. I don't wear the pajamas to bed, okay? I wear pajamas like to walk over to work. They're street pajamas is what I call them. And I don't even wear a shirt. I just wear a jacket because I'm like, why would I wear a shirt? Because I have to change into scrubs because I work in an operating room. So there's no reason for me to, put a shirt on. It's jacket and run into work. So anyway, one of my coworkers saw me and they said, hey, oh, we have the vigil. Like, oh, come. So I ended up coming, and I was free. Like for 45 minutes, I'm like freezing to death. I'm like, oh my God, I'm freezing. But I wanted to be there to show support for my coworkers who passed away during the pandemic, nurses that had passed away, and I was there. And I was there, and after about 45 minutes, I told my coworkers, I said, listen, I love you guys, but I am freezing and I'm really super hungry. I have to go. And
the neighborhood that we live in here in New York City, there's only certain places that I go to eat. I'm a very predictable person. I'm not a foodie at all. So I usually go to, and all these, again, are in walking distance within me. It's just horrible that I'm saying this. But this is, again, I'm not a foodie. Okay, so forgive me. I go to Wendy's. I go to Subway. I go eat Chinese food at this called Happy World restaurant. I eat at a Papa John's Pizza. And I eat at McDonald's. I know, super disgusting. I'm so sorry. But those are the 5 places I eat at, okay? Don't judge. But like, I transition between them. And Subway. Did I mention Subway? Yeah, there's also a Subway. So anyway, those are the places, my regulars. Once in a blue, I'll get food from this place called Wahi Diner. Once in a blue, I'll get food from this place called Dallas Barbecue. Once in a blue, I'll get food from... what's the other place? This place called Como Pizza. Instead of getting Papa John's pizza, I'll get Como Pizza. So that night it was freezing. So what happens is that Dallas Barbecue, imagine like Dallas Barbecue is like opposite direction from where my work. It's farther away from my job, and so it's basically Wendy. Well, I was gonna get Wendy's. I was fixing to get Wendy's. Get me some Wendy's. And so, I forgot Popeyes. I know, I'm horrible. I love Popeyes. Okay, Popeyes is also within the neighborhood. I get that once in a while. That's why I guess 6 places I get my stuff in. But anyway, I'm losing my track here. I was gonna go to Wendy's. I was like, I'm gonna walk over to Wendy's. Feeling a little Wendy's tonight. I'm walking over, I'm like freezing. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to just get food and then go home, and sulk in my tears, be depressed, and just wanted to get inside and be warm and get food. So I'm walking over to Wendy's and I realize like, oh my god, Wendy's is so far away. That's an extra block, but it's freezing. And I'm freezing. I've been outside for over close to an hour at this point. So I decided, you know what? And mind you, I have no idea at this point. I have no idea where my wife is. She does not stop responding to me. I contacted, our parents. I contacted them and I asked them, like if they knew anything. They didn't know anything. So. Because I had dropped her, that's what happened. I dropped her stuff off at her parents, actually. Oh God, I forgot that about the story. I forgot to add that. It was that, when she left all the stuff in the bed, all our little things that her mom had made for us. I got super upset about it because I'm like, even now, she's leaving me. She's leaving me to deal with this pain. She's leaving me in shattered pieces to deal with these things. Like she said she would take them with her and she didn't. And I got so upset and it was so much more painful. The fact that it was like, you're leaving this for me to suffer. As if she was like trying to get me to suffer even more. And so I took her things and actually, that same night that she left Saturday. So that Saturday, I got home at like midnight because I made sure like, I don't want to cry and beg her to stay anymore. I've already done that all day the day before. All her stuff is probably going to be gone. And I'll get back late so that doesn't happen. So I got back late. I saw that in the bed and I got so upset. I started crying like crazy again. I started shaking and trembling. It's like I packed all her stuff and I packed all that stuff. I put it in a box. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to go to our parents and I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give it to them because I don't know who else to give it to. I can't have it. This is so painful for me to look at. Like everything, like the whole thing. And she touched it. She had touched it. It wasn't like I put it in her bed and she looked through it and arranged it to like throw it in my face. Like, there you go, suffer. And I remember I was so upset. I was crying like crazy. I started packing her stuff. Whatever she had left, what ended up happening was that I had gone down the basement to throw out like whatever garbage was left because the apartment was a complete mess. It literally looked like there was a friggin' war and people were just packing and wanting to rush out. And so a bunch of her clothes were downstairs and said, free clothes for women in our building. And it did, like, that hit me hard. Still, like, going down the basement and I start crying. I'm crying this entire time. And I'm upset. And I put all the stuff, our stuff together her mom had made for us. I put it in a box. And I was like, I'm going to give it to them at some point this week. I'm going to drive over to them. I'm going to give it to them. And leave it there. Let them decide what they want to do with it. And because it had no effect on her. I thought that my expectation was that it would affect her. It would be like, oh my God, look at all these memories we have together. All these things my mom made for us. Like, oh my God, we have to stay together. It's beautiful. And that wasn't my expectation. My expectation was that I'll throw it out. Fine, I'll throw it out. That wasn't the answer I was expecting. All my expectations, all of it, the complete opposite of my expectations happened. And so at this point, I'm just sobbing all day.
It's Saturday. Like, yeah, I got back like midnight. So this is Sunday morning now, midnight on a Sunday. So like I start packing stuff, and next thing I know, whatever she had left over, I assumed because she didn't take it out, I just assumed like, okay, she probably wants me to keep this stuff, like whatever clothes, not her clothes, not the stuff her mom made, but like the clothes. So I thought in my head, like, she obviously doesn't want this thrown out, otherwise she would throw it out. They were like super nice jackets because she had her own closet in the second bedroom, and so I got all the stuff. I started packing, just packing. I spent like 4 hours just making sure that everything that was here, I packed it. And so I packed it and I ended up dropping it off to her parents. And God, she didn't tell her parents yet what was happening. She'd already been seeing other people. She didn't tell them anything. And it was Sunday morning, and I remember it was 5 a.m. And I was thinking, you know what? Why should I give this to him during the week? I'm already awake. I'm not gonna be able to sleep this whole day. I might as well just drop it off in Brooklyn now. There's gonna be no traffic going to Brighton Beach. I'll just head over there and give it to them now. And a part of me too was like, maybe she's there. Maybe that's where she went. She went to her parents for sure. She must have gone to her parents, because where else could she possibly go like this quickly? And that was, again, my expectations versus reality. I get to her parents. She's not there. I'm crying. Once I saw her, I started crying. Just started bawling like crazy again. And they didn't understand what was happening. And throughout this whole time, one of my best friends, one of my best buddies, my buddy Nando, who I did, used to do podcasts with, like one of my closest friends, he passed away. He had passed away. So I haven't even processed him passing away. He was, 30 years old. He was actually going to be 31 the weekend before he passed. The weekend after he passed was actually the weekend he was going to turn 31. And no one knows what his cause of death is. The family wants to keep private, which is, again, I respect that. But I hadn't even processed it yet, because I've been dealing with this situation. And that day, when I went to Brooklyn to drop the rest of her stuff off and the little things that her mom had made for us over the years, I had to go to one of my best friend's funeral that same day. And things that I hadn't even processed it yet, that one of my best friends just died. And I went to her parents. I was crying like crazy, and they didn't know what was happening. And I was debating what to tell her parents, because I knew if you drop, I said to myself, you drop these things off, if you give these things to her parents, her mom and dad are gonna want to know. They're gonna want to know what's going on. Like, our parents are gonna say, like, what's wrong with you guys? What happened? I thought in my head, like, what's your answer gonna be? What are you gonna say? And again, I had already known that she didn't like it. She didn't like our problems being talked about with anyone. Not even her parents, not even my parents, not even my brothers. It doesn't matter if it's family, friends. And I thought in my head, okay, there's still a chance for reconciliation. I don't want her to be upset at me on top of what's already happening. So I'd already made up my mind. I'm going to tell her mom and dad, I'm going to tell them that she doesn't love me anymore. She's decided to leave me. That was my plan. Just tell parents that's it. That's all they need to know. Maybe they'll contact her, if she's not there already. Maybe they'll contact her and find out what's going on from her, and they'll get her to stay with me. What ended up happening was that her mom called her. I was hugging her mom, hugging her dad. They were still confused. They were just completely confused. And so I realized, obviously she hasn't told them anything. And again, this whole situation is fresh. And so her mom called her, and they spoke in Ukrainian, so I couldn't understand anything, but it felt like it was like a 10-second conversation. And I felt like, I don't know if she hung up. Again, I can't understand, so I wasn't sure what happened. So, her mom got off the phone, and her dad was pressuring me. Like her dad was telling me no, he was using, because we use Google Translate. That's how we communicate. Because I'm horrible. I'm not a linguist. Okay, I'm horrible at language, and so we're using Google Translate. And her dad was showing me his phone. He was saying stop, let's talk. What's going on? What's going on with you and her? And the parents were trying to get us to get me to stay. And I was telling our parents, no, I have to go, because I'm actually going to a funeral. I'm fucking going to one of my best friend's funeral. like, I'm so sorry. And I was, very emotional. I'm crying. And he's giving, no, stay. And he did, like, I was trying to put in Google Translate, like, my friend died. And, like, I was thinking in my head, they're not going to be even more confused. Like, your friend died, but you're here. You're saying Ksenia's leaving you. Like, what? I was so engulfed in emotion. And finally, I was like, no, I'm going to stop right now. And so I put in Google Translate. I was like, I stopped crying. I typed it. And I said, Ksenia is seeing other men. She doesn't love me anymore. She left me. And I said that. And I typed it out. And I remember when I showed it to her dad, he just gave this look of like, oh my God. That's just like this like dread and disappointment of, wow, what? Like, what? And, yeah. I dropped off what I could. Oh, and our rings, engagement ring, my ring, I put it cup. I gave them everything, anything that was gonna trigger me to cry every time I saw it. Like, I was like, this needs to go to someone that can decide what to do with it, because if I keep this here with me, I'm just gonna keep it for the rest of my life, because I'm never gonna have the heart to throw this out. And so yeah, that's what happened. I left it there. I went to my friend Nando's funeral, which is, again, I was surprisingly put together at the funeral. One of my buddies, who was even closer to him than me, one of my other best buddies, he actually couldn't make it because he had a holiday to go to with his son. I'd already missed his actual funeral. This was more of a commemoration dinner because it was on a weekday. His funeral was on a weekday. And so, this one I couldn't miss. Like, I was like, I have to go to this one. And so, I'm going to no sleep. I've been packing all night, crying like crazy for the last 2 or 3 days. And so I was there. And so my buddy who couldn't make it, one of my best friends who couldn't make it, who was supposed to do the speech, like, he told me, he's like, hey, can you do the speech for me? So it was actually really nice when I did the speech for him, because it was kind of just like another, again, I was able to mourn the death of one of my best friends, and at the same time I was able to also process his death finally, and it was a distraction from what was going on in my life with my wife. And yeah, and so to get back to where I was before, that I said this is out of a movie. So that was on a Sunday. Then the vigil was on Tuesday. Vigil was on Tuesday of that week. So at this point, I've been crying again randomly every day. No idea what's going on. No idea what's going to happen. And that night, the vigil, I was freezing. I was walking over to Wendy's. I decided that night of nights, you know what? Wendy's is too far away. It's an extra block. I'm freezing to death. I've been freezing to death for close to an hour now. Let me go check out what's in Dallas Barbecue. I actually didn't go to Dallas Barbecue. There's it's an Asian restaurant, like a new one that opened up right next to it. So I actually stopped by there first, just like check it out. Like, oh, this is new. What's here? And I was like, yeah, no, I probably don't like anything in this menu. So I was like, you know what? Let me go into Dallas Barbecue. Let me see what's there. So I walk into Dallas Barbecue, and in the corner, there she is, on a date with a guy. 2 days. So she moved out Saturday. So yeah, 3 days after she moved out, and I froze. We're way in the back. I was at the entrance, and I saw her, and I froze. Like, I can't even describe right now what I felt in that moment. It wasn't even anger. It was like pain and destruction and devastation. Like, I felt like I died. I felt as if
somebody just killed, like I felt like I died, or I think I closed my eyes a bunch of times and I think I went into that mode of I'm gonna wake up and this is all a dream. It's a nightmare. I'm gonna wake up. I think I closed my eyes several times. I remember the host came up to me like 4 or 5 times because I just froze. Because I was there for probably, I'm gonna say like it could have been half an hour. I lost track of time. It was either half an hour or 45 minutes. I just like was there, just frozen. And I do remember the host coming up to me, like, do you want to sit down? I think they noticed something was off about me, like something was wrong with me. And every time I would open my eyes, I wasn't waking up. And it started to dawn on me that you're awake. This is real. What you're seeing right now is real. And I remember at some points I did think, it's good that you're frozen. You need to see this. You need this pain. You need to see what's happening. You need this. You need this hurt. And I was watching them. Every time I opened my eyes, I watched them, and like the way she was treating him, the way she wanted him, was like, why couldn't she want me that way when I came home? Like when she kissed him, like, and it was like a passionate kiss, and in my mind I'm like thinking, how long has she been seeing this guy? Because she's supposed to be asexual, but she looks really comfortable. She looks like she's in love. And it's like, I feel like, yeah, I think about the most painful moment in my life up to this point. I'm 39. I'll be 40 next year. I think about, this was again on Tuesday, I believe. I've had several days to process this now, and I think about it, and I think, what has been the most painful moment in my entire life up until this point, and that was it. And I do recall standing there and watching this unfold as I sat, as I was there frozen. And it did cross my mind. This is painful. This is the most painful thing that has ever happened. This is so painful. And I thought about these last few days about how much I gave, how much I fought, how much I beat myself up for thinking that something was wrong with me, and how much love I gave. And I think that's what really is the cause of so much pain, because it's again, it's about, it's like, because a lot of my friends, they think like she used you. She became a nurse, you got her sister here, you got her parents here, you helped them escape the war, now she can be on her own, and then she left you. At 3 years after graduating, she like bounced on you. Once all her life was set, she left you. And a lot of my friends think that's like, oh, she's, maybe she's a user.
my sisters, they all think she's a user, that she just used me. And I told them, like, look, I'm in this relationship. She didn't use me. She genuinely loved me. At some point, she genuinely loved me. At least the first few years that we're together, she genuinely loved me. I truly believe that. And, people think in terms of finances. Like, one of my buddies, because I was providing for her everything, she accumulated a lot of money once she started working as a nurse. She had a lot of money. She has a lot of money in her investments. And one of my close buddies is like, "Oh, you should go after it." And I told him, I said to him, "Look, my mental health is more important than me prolonging a contested divorce where I'm gonna drag it out." And again, I have too much pride. It's like, look, I did that because I love her, and our parents who escaped here, like, I love them. And for me to now seek out of resentment and anger money, like, that's never been who I am. There's not enough hatred in me. I don't have hatred in my heart to do that. Because I love her, I love our parents, like, I helped them escape here, for crying out loud. Like, I'm not gonna, like, why would I do that? I would never, like, no. So a lot of my friends, they think about the money, they think about the financial aspect that I gave her, and I don't think, like, it doesn't even bother me. I don't care, because you don't care. If you love people, you don't give a shit. Like, who cares about the money? I have enough lifetime of working to make money. I can go and do double overtimes and kill myself to make money. That's not a problem to make money. I've never had problems making money. What hurts the most is because these last few years, it's like, I gave so much love. That's what fucking hurts. I gave so much love. So much love. And, you think like, I thought, there's no way that any other human being could give this much love to anybody ever. There's no fucking way. It's not possible. I know how much love I can give, and nobody can give the love that I can give. And I had all these expectations, of what was gonna happen, and then I felt like these last few years, that was taken from me. And that was used. My love was used, and it meant nothing. And that's what hurts the most, is that I thought I could love so much, but it meant nothing. And that's what really is painful, is that you think you gave so much, you fought so much, it was nothing in the end. And so today I went to our parents, and I had gotten them a Christmas tree for Christmas, because that's just how I am. And I was debating whether even to go or not, because I was like, but I love them. Like, I love them. And yes, part of the reason why I went there was, again, my expectation. I had this false hope that, like, oh, maybe she'll be there. Maybe, I just didn't catch her last time, or maybe that's where she's staying. And I helped them set up the Christmas tree. They talked to me. We finally had a chance to sit down and talk. And the things I'm explaining now in this 3-hour video is however long it's been. We were talking, and I was trying to explain to them what's happening, and they said that they knew nothing, and that she didn't really tell them much of anything. The one thing they did say was that they said to me that, that she believes that it's both of us have fallen out of love, and that, like, hurt even more. And even during our arguments, I would always tell her that. During our last few arguments, the last time I saw her, I remember telling her, like, to stop saying that we both fell out of love. I never fell out of love. I never fell out of love. There were moments of weakness on my part where I felt like, okay, I questioned myself, but at the end of the day, I knew I didn't fall out of love, because, again, I would always think, what can I do to better myself? What can I do to make her happy? Every single time we would have an argument, that's all I thought about. What can I do to be a better person? Because when you love someone, that's what you do. You want to be a better person for them. And that's when I know I never fell in love. And even now, that's what I told her parents. I said to them, even now, I'm here, I'm fighting to get her back, to win her back. I'm fighting. I'm giving everything that I can. And for her to say that it's both of us, and I felt like, I think the reason why she says it's both of us, because I think deep down she wants to believe that it's both of us. And it's so sad to me that I feel like now the lack of intimacy, she was somewhat conscious of it. She must have been, especially when she said, I'm surprised you haven't cheated on me by now in one of our arguments. And to me, I felt as if like, and I always had this feeling. I remember telling her too. I remember in our many arguments, I would tell her too, it's like, you're just waiting for me to fuck up. You're just waiting for me to fuck up so you can say you're the bad guy. And you can go back to your 120,000 Instagram followers and you can tell them, oh, I loved him so much and I gave him everything, and look, he cheated on me. Oh, look, he fell out of love. And like, I feel like she keeps saying it, she keeps repeating it to herself to convince herself that I fell out of love too. Because at this very moment, she doesn't want it to be that it's just her. It's like, even in the moment where she decided to be the one to leave, it's like she wants me to also want to leave her. And to me, it's like, that hurts just as much as her leaving me, because it's like, if you're going to leave me, at least acknowledge, take responsibility, take accountability that you wanted this. You wanted this, not me. You wanted this. And for you to throw it in my face and say like, well, you want it too. Like, no, I don't want it too. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here fighting. That's why I'm here talking to our parents, trying to get them. And her parents actually asked me, they asked me, what can we do to help you? What can we do? And I said to them, if I'm being honest, of course I would want you to help me get her back. But I don't want her to come. I don't want her to come back because you pressure her. I don't want her to come back because her parents want her to come back to me. I want her to come back to me because she loves me. And her dad just like nodded. And he understood what I was saying. But we put up the tree. I was shocked I didn't cry while we were putting up the tree, because at that point I was like, we were all crying. And I said to her parents, I put in Google Translate, I said, listen, I was like, I can't cry anymore. I've cried too much this last week. Like, can we put up the tree? Something happy. And yeah, like, I didn't cry while we put up the tree. It was actually kind of fun. Like, it's so nice. The only thing missing was her. It's really nice. This is a nice fucking tree. It's a beautiful tree, and yeah, that's what I'm dealing with right now. That happened today, and she hadn't responded to me. She blocked me from everything except for WhatsApp. I knew she had blocked me from WhatsApp, so I think her parents must have texted her when I left, because as soon as I left, she sent me a text on WhatsApp. And the gist of the text, it was like a short little paragraph where she basically said, stop hurting yourself. Our relationship is over. You need to move on. Oh no, she did apologize. She said, I'm sorry. No, she said, I'm sorry I hurt you. Our relationship is over. You're hurt. You need to stop hurting yourself. Or she said, at this point, you're hurting yourself. Move on. She didn't say you need to move on. She just said move on. Period. It fucking hurts. You know? I think in my head, when is this gonna stop? How long does it take to heal from this? And I don't know if I ever will. I know I'll heal, I'm sure. Everybody heals. I'm not the first person whose wife ever left them. I'm not the first person that, their wife left them because, they started seeing other people or fell in love with another guy or got cheated on or whatever it may be. Not the first guy. This happened to tons of guys. Guys do that all the time. Men cheat more than women, right? But I know myself. And I know how much I love her. And I know that even if I heal, I know myself, I'm never going to be the same. And that's what really sucks. Because the love that I gave, I'm never going to be able to. I'm never going to be able to love someone that much ever again. Because I never want to be in this much pain ever again. I'm scared. I'm scared because I know I'll never love anyone like this again. Like people just, I know my friends will tell me like, no. Actually, her dad told me like, hey, because, her dad is, it's a second marriage for them. And he said, look, I met Tatiana when I was 51. And so don't say that it's over. You can find love again. And he was trying to comfort me. And that, I get what he's saying. It's just, that's been taken from me. And at the same time, I think in my head, again, I go fluctuate between denial, anger, and depression. I feel like my emotions kind of fluctuate between the two. And a part of me thinks, as cold as she's been, she hasn't loved me in a really long time. And I think about all the photos that I took of her, all the travels that we did. And I remember that when the first 2 or 3 days, I remember being so angry, like thinking all those moments are now gone. Like they're meaningless now. Like I look at these photos, I look through all these photos of our travels of us together, all these videos of us together. It's like meaningless because I'm sure she's using these photos, if she's on online dating apps, she's using these photos to get guys to go on dates. She used it on this guy. This guy that she seemed to be in love with, who knows how long they've been dating. Like she probably used these photos to show him like, oh, look where I was, look at this, look at that. And I thought in my head, like, all those moments now are just meaningless. They're gone. But then after a few more days, again, because I feel as if it's so difficult for me to hate people. And I know that people fall out of love and it's fine. And I thought in my head, well, instead of looking at it like that, instead of looking at like, well, those moments are now gone, those moments, it's like, no, actually, maybe this is just me sugarcoating things. Maybe this is just me trying to make myself feel better about it. But I thought in my head, well, if these photos that I took of her, if she shows it to other guys, if she's showing it to this other guy, if that's how she got him, she used these photos in her profile picture or whatever it may be, you know what? It's okay because in a way, if she ends up being happy, if she ends up remarrying and finding the true love of her life, that will do travel nursing with her, that will travel all over the country with her and live in different cities every few months. If she finds that guy, in a way, I played a part in her happiness. Because I took those photos, because I got her to travel, in a way, I played a role in her being happy. And, oh God. Yeah, I guess maybe it's a little bit of sugarcoating. But I have to find a way to take my pain and convert it somehow into some form of happiness. It's like, to me, I guess that's the most disappointing part is, how she ended things. That literally is just like this cold, this just like as if I didn't matter. And I think I'm already insecure enough as it is, and it kind of it validates exactly what I think, is that I'm not good enough for someone. That as soon as they have the ability to provide for themselves, as soon as they don't need my stability anymore, that's it, they're gone. And but it's like I said, it's he wasn't happy. But it could have been different. But then again, I asked myself, how could it have been different? How I'm so madly in love with her. Like how there was no way this was ever going to be mutual. And that's what sucks, you know? The person that's left behind, right? I'm the person that got left behind. I'm the person that's still in love, and I think that's the worst situation to be in. Is to be the person that's in love. Because the person that's been out of love, they can go date right away. They can find comfort in another person right away. And here I am, alone, by myself, in this home, and it's like this home has it's become a graveyard. You know, I open our drawers, and for 10 years I open it, her clothes are there, her underwear, her bras. I open it and it's empty. I open the closet, 10 years, her jackets are there. Now it's empty. I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know. I don't know how long it's gonna take. And I guess the way I'm feeling right now is that I don't think I'll ever heal. To where I was before. And I don't think I'll be able to love like this ever again. And that's what I've lost, is that ability. I know I'll heal. I know I will. I'm a resilient person. I have good coping mechanisms. I have a lot of outlets that I can go to. My friends and family are amazing people. But like, this is it. This is one of those events in your life, in a person's life, where it changes them. And I think I'm at that moment right now. And then I'm at that moment where it's never going to be the same after this. And you know, you can say, well, it's a learning experience. It's not necessarily bad that you're never going to be the same, because I feel like my love was blind. We were literally, both of us were literally blinding ourselves from the issues that we had, the differences that we had. And I was trying to continue to be blind. And I didn't want to be blind anymore. But I don't know, I'm not making sense anymore. Make no sense. So this is it. This is, I guess you could say, day 8 of when my wife, since my wife left me. And it's lonely. And it's sad. And I just realized I haven't eaten all day today. That's the other thing too, appetite, loss of appetite. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just not in the mood to eat. I guess I feel like people either eat like crazy or they lose appetite. I guess I'm a lose appetite kind of guy. I'm so vulnerable right now. But I guess this is my form of therapy. Trying to get back into social media,
putting my pain and my suffering out there in the world. Just, you know, maybe somebody out there can relate. Maybe somebody out there can have been through where I'm sure there's people that's been through much, much worse. But yeah. Yep. This is where I'm at right now, and yeah, I'm scared. I'm sad, and lonely, and I miss her. I miss her a lot. I can't picture a future without her. I can't. I close my eyes and I want to wake up. I want to wake up from this nightmare.